Hey, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am so excited. We have Pat Gray back.
Yay!
Joining us for the Friday show. Yay! Thanks for being with us. I know you have to wake up super early, so
somewhat early.
We appreciate you staying for us. All right, Stu, top story.
The border wall is not about the border wall. It's about keeping this country pure and white.
Is it
Pure,
really?
like builder white.
Are you
That's
sure?
how we want it.
Thank you for finally saying it.
Yeah. That's what we want.
Someone finally had the guts to say that.
Yeah, it's the border wall and the shutdown.
Okay, and keeping America white.
Right, exactly.
Making America white again.
That part went without saying.
Mawa.
Yeah.
Jason.
The scare tactics now coming out from the mainstream media and some people on the left about, I actually called the fallout from the shutdown a economic hellscape. Well, there's something you can do that's very easy if you don't like that or if you're scared of that.
All right, lot to get into there, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Mercury Real Estate. So apparently Glenn founded this company several years ago because he decided that going through the phone book and randomly picking a real estate agent was not a solid idea, I guess.
Stupid idea, actually. You should always go and find a bench with the best looking homeless
That's
person.
the way
Right.
to do it.
And what realtor's behind that homeless person, that's who you go with.
The best ones are.
That's what I do.
Because
solid.
they're smiling, they're very happy to be on the
Yes.
bench where people sit their rear ends, and you should definitely call on them. No, but in all seriousness, a lot of people say that they're a real estate agent. You know, they dabble in it, they do it as a part-time thing, but you don't know who really knows their stuff. Well, you do with realestateagentsitrust.com, because they take all of the real estate agents that they have vetted. They're viewers of the show, they're listeners, they share your values, they do this full time, they have the experience and the knowledge. And so they vet these people and then bring them on board. So you know that you are getting someone who's going to be able to sell your home and who's going to have the most knowledge about that area. So you can go to realestateagentsitrust.com, check them out if you're looking to buy or sell. You got to use realestateagentsitrust.com. All right, Stu, Mawa, please.
Making America white again. It's funny, we do this every day, and we come in here and talk about the, Congress and Washington every single day of our lives. I'm always amazed at how many Congress people I've never heard of or seen before. Like, I don't know, where do these people, there's only 535 of them between the House and the Senate. You'd think you'd know all their faces by now. Apparently not. There's someone I've never heard before who made yet another ridiculous comment about Donald Trump. Watch.
This has never been about a wall. He actually could have gotten funding a couple of years ago or a year ago for a wall. It was part of a deal that was proposed. Not all of us agreed with that deal, but it was proposed to him and he turned it down because his ultimate goal is, as you said, to make America pure in the sense of not having immigrants, not having folks of color here, and shutting down every form of legal immigration, all to throw a bone to those people. And the only thing...
If he said it once, he said it 100 times. That's exactly
no
why
more
he's
legal
doing it.
immigration.
Yep.
How many times has he said
That's
that?
what that is what the
Shut
wall
down
is
all
for.
the borders, no one else comes in ever.
I believe the answer to that is zero, by the way. It's just laughable. Look, the ultimate goal isn't the wall. The ultimate goal is to enforce our laws, right? And the wall is a nice, easy way. You build it once, it stays up there. It knocks out 90% of the problem when it comes to people crossing illegally. And that is a nice, happy place to be if you can get the thing built. I love this idea that it's completely immoral, but we should also know that the Democrats offered it just a couple months ago, a year ago now with the DACA sort of trade. Which is a funny place to be. If you think something's immoral, you don't offer it in a deal. And you certainly don't vote for it multiple times over your career. It's really just it's an asinine talking point. Walls are neither moral or immoral. Walls are just a tool to affect policy, right? And wall, in this particular case, is affecting a law. If you think the law is wrong and you think we should have open borders and people should cross, by all means, come out and admit it. Because there's certainly not a lot of people who seem to be voicing that opinion. Instead, what the real goal here is to make sure that if we have laws, they're actually enforced. We can't have a country in which people are able to just come in and do whatever they want, whenever they want. We are able to have controls, just like every other nation on earth. I can't imagine that if we started deciding, we're just going to cross into Mexico and set up shop in Mexico and just live there for a while, if that was appealing to us, and there are some nice resort towns, maybe we want to do it. Would they be happy with that? Would that be okay for us? Would we argue on this show, it's okay, of course, for Americans to cross into Mexico and do whatever they want? We're Americans. No. Countries have laws. You're supposed to respect them. That's the end game here. The idea that he wants to keep people of color out of the country is just patently absurd. It's hard to even, dignify it with a comment.
And I've made this point before, but no one says that the Mexicans hate brown people. And they have a far worse issue with illegal immigration than we do. And in fact, they're far more heavy-handed about it. They deported over twice the amount. I think we deported, 20,000 last year. They deported, I think, 70,000 or something like that. I mean, vastly more. I mean, if they're not in negotiations to build their own wall, which I guarantee you that's probably going to happen, and I can't wait to see how the media covers that versus the wall on our southern border. But it's just ridiculous. It's not a case of white versus brown. They're not making the same arguments when it's people in Mexico or Guatemala or Nicaragua. They're not making those arguments.
I'm what you would call significantly Swedish, and I have a lot of distant relatives that live in Sweden. If a bunch of Swedish people came over here and decided they wanted to build, IKEAs all over the place, or whatever
That'd be
they
fine,
do,
right? You'd welcome that.
No, I would not welcome it.
What?
Because we have laws, and even white people are supposed to follow them.
And that's not the only reason. IKEA sucks.
Thank you.
Well, the directions suck. I will say that.
You have to pay. It used to be cheap. Now you have to pay 3 times the amount of what it would cost at Best Buy or Walmart or wherever you're going to get something
really
like cheap. It's like 3 times the cost, and you have to put it together.
Yes.
Come on.
However,
I don't care if you have a restaurant in your stupid store.
Walmart has Swedish meatballs. When they get Swedish meatballs ready, just a delivery, you can just walk by and have that and lingonberry juice. Then I'll start talking about this. But.
Well, it's just what's so absurd to me is the fact that an elected official can go on television and spout this stuff like there's any evidence to back it up.
No,
when has Donald Trump ever said any of that?
I will say Trump has not done this all that much. There are some people in the immigration hawk sort of world that Trump certainly is in. That do want to restrict legal immigration to heavy levels, and I do think that not because it's racist. I just think it's a bad policy. I don't think that that's the way we should go. I think we should make it easier.
And that's
for
not
people
Trump's
to come
policy.
But Trump, I've never heard him
say anything about restricting legal immigration.
Right, and he's actually said multiple times, we want immigrants to come here.
Big door in the wall and all that stuff. I mean, so I don't know how detailed Trump is on those particular policies. Some of the people I think in his administration who are a little bit more restricted than I would be on that. But again, that is not the main policy. The main policy is not stopping legal immigration. We're all happy with people coming here. Legal immigrants are among the best citizens we have because they have a passion to be here. They chose it, right? And they went through a freaking wall of bureaucracy to get here. Unlike us, we get born here and it's like we're part of the family. This is one of those arguments they make all the time where, well, did you know that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes? Well, it's like, first of all, there's some questions about that study. Maybe we can go into that in another day. I will say one thing the study says for sure is that legal immigrants commit a hell of a lot less crimes than illegal immigrants. That's something I can tell you right off the bat.
Right.
But beyond that, if your daughter takes money out of your wallet 3 times and only 1 time someone breaks into your home and takes money out of your wallet, which one are you going to be more worried about, right? Like you're stuck with your family members. We're all citizens. We were all born here, and now you're stuck with us. We're in the country. We can't do anything with us. We can do things with people coming in here trying to do us harm, and we should not be importing crime.
And let's not pretend that stopping all immigration. There's a difference between restricting immigration. Just because you're restricting immigration is a big difference between stopping all immigration.
Oh, totally.
Like what she was just saying. Restrictive immigration is called having an immigrant policy.
Right.
Is basically what that is.
There's not a country on earth that doesn't restrict immigration.
No.
Everyone does.
And that's been our policy since what? The 20s? Since the 1800s. That's been our policy. We restrict certain levels of immigrants coming in. We very rarely stop it altogether. But that's not the policy right now. We're doing the same thing we've done for decades.
Well, and I was on social media earlier and I saw a story about a teen who was stabbed by MS-13 gang members.
Yeah.
And
Blaze is a crazy story.
Yeah, and so I shared it, and one of the responses that I got was, well, I mean, there's violence going on in America with citizens. And I'm like, can we not just agree that both of those things are wrong?
Yeah.
Like, it's wrong to let MS-13 gang members come in and stab teenagers, and it's also wrong for people in our country to do it. But if we have a solution that's going to help, I mean, can we not just say that that's okay?
Well, and again,
they're not competing
we can't
ideas.
deport our citizens, right? Like we're stuck with them. We're stuck with all the crappy people that were born in America. That's just our lot in life. Yeah. We are not stuck with every crappy person that was born in Mexico or Honduras. Right. We can stop them from coming in, and seems like a very basic thing that we could do to try to limit. Again, you import things you want. You don't want to import crime, and we continue to import crime. There's no reason for us to be doing it, certainly at the levels that we're doing it. You're never going to stop every bit of illegal immigration, but there's no reason we should never have that story. And by the way, what happened with that story? MS-13, which commits 4.3 times the amount of murders per capita than happen in school shootings. So it's a big problem. People like to just brush it off like it's nothing, but it's happening a lot more than school shootings are happening.
People want to take away our Second Amendment rights because of school shootings.
Exactly, but not for MS-13. No, of course not. And what happened was it was actually there was a pushback against the school and against the officer, the school resource officer, who referred this criminal to ICE. There was a controversy because they actually took the step of saying, by the way, this person's here illegally. Now they're getting in trouble for that. It is bizarro land.
And by the way, what happened to the Democrat mantra, if it saves just one life, isn't it worth it? Yeah, well, in this case, yeah, it is. But they don't apply that to immigration, and they don't apply it to abortion. So no. I guess there's some hypocrisy there.
So, Pat, your top story tying into...
Yeah, it's all the wonderful things, because we can't afford the $5.7 billion for the wall. The Democrats won't even consider it, because they're too busy spending our money on other more important things. And
good.
Here's some of the super, super important things that Democrats are okay with. $8.2 billion a year. $8.2 billion for rural utility service. Now, this is to bring electricity to, like, farms. When are we finally going to bring electricity to farmland
I don't think
America?
it's possible.
You know,
farms can't have electricity. That's not something that can happen.
Is it 1940 yet? We've done that, and we did it a long time ago. And so now they're using the $8.2 billion a year to bring broadband internet for free to these areas.
Wow.
I mean, wow, but we can't afford a wall.
Isn't that supposed to be something that, like, when you choose to live out in the sticks, you just know, like,
you're
cell service is probably not going to be great. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that's something
trade-off,
you know,
right?
Right.
Yeah, you're
gonna going into it.
You get good internet in New York City, but you got to deal with New York City.
Right.
How about funding the United Nations to the tune of $10 billion
a year?
Would you rather build the wall or fund the UN?
I would prefer $0 billion.
Me too. Foreign aid, we give $50 billion a year in foreign aid to nations. And I love this one, the waste, fraud, and abuse. Just in payment errors, we are losing $137 billion a year.
Good gosh.
But we can't afford a wall.
That's an amazing amount of errors.
And then when you add up all of the odds and ends that are so ridiculous, but I mean, these are important. The Democrats are okay with the $613,000 we're spending every year to boost intimacy and trust of transgender women for their male partners.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. I think we can all get behind that.
That's amazing.
Northwestern University has received more than $3 million from the National Institutes of Health to watch hamster fights. Now, these are important.
Again, I'm on board with this.
How does a hamster, a normal hamster that's drug-free, how does that hamster fare when you put a hamster roided up in with it?
That's what they're studying?
Yes.
And I would guess poorly.
Yes.
I would guess poorly.
I would guess so too.
I mean, pay-per-view that bad boy. You make a little return on your money. Exactly.
My money's on the steroid
hamster. The roided out hamster.
Every time. Unfortunately, we had $3 million going to that cause. So
But for every roided out hamster, there's just some, guy from, South Philly, you know what I mean? Running up those stairs,
right?
And he's going to pull it through.
Right? And then the government spends at least $518,000 every year for federal grants to study how cocaine affects the sexual behavior of Japanese quail.
I'm sorry?
The sexual behavior of Japanese quail.
We're paying to study.
When they're on cocaine. Yeah.
Right.
Now, I would be against this if it was Chinese quail, because we all know with Chinese quail how that works out.
An American quail?
Or Canadian geese. If it was Canadian geese, I'd be against it. But for Japanese quail, I want to know how they perform.
Oh my gosh.
when they're high on
I'll be
coke.
honest, I must know.
Yeah.
And geese are already jerks. Can you imagine if you pump them up with cocaine?
Oh God, that would be scary.
Dive bombing golfers and like catastrophic numbers.
Maybe I'm the only one to think about this, but like, maybe PETA should be involved in this. I'm not a big fan of PETA, but
Yeah, you would think
I
they'd be
don't
pissed
know
off
that
about that.
Giving
I think
quail
that-
cocaine is a
You're saying
really
this is
moral.
a bad thing? This is the life of a quail. This is like this is a kick-ass. You're like
Life doesn't get better.
You're a rock star. This is like
You got
and
quail
the
lining
Rolling
up to get into
Stones
the
is what
program.
Yeah.
One day that quail's gonna wake up at the side of the pool, drenched in his own vomit.
Yeah.
Like, where did I go wrong about
At some point, he rejects him.
On steroids.
Oh yeah, later on though. I mean, that's 20 years down the road. It's 20 years of partying, then that comes the regret.
Right.
Let the guy,
Let
the
him
quail
live for
kinda
a
live it
while.
out. See how that goes.
Let them live.
We're gonna take a break. We'll be back.
It's unreal.
Just wear protection if you're a quail. We should.
All right, we are not done talking about the government shutdown, but before we get back into it, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So unfortunately, I think all of us are of the age where things just start to hurt.
I don't know
Start
what
to
you're
fall
talking
No,
apart.
I'm not. I'm not even anywhere
You guys
near
are,
that.
you guys are good?
Yeah, we're good.
No, but seriously, on top of the everyday aches and pains, people have stuff happen. I got in a car crash. I know Glenn has suffered with pain. Pat, I think you've,
I've passed injuries
4
from my
discs.
NFL days.
yeah, so that's huge
Yeah.
for you.
A lot of knee pain.
A lot of injuries. Jason, you were in the military. There's just things that happen in life, and you're in pain, and your age catches up with you. Then you got grandkids you got to carry around, and it gets worse and worse and worse. Well, there's an answer for you, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is 100% natural, which all of these guys at the table probably balk at, but I think it's awesome because I hate big pharma and taking pharmaceutical drugs, unlike Stu here.
I love them, actually. I'm a big fan. But I know Relief Factor actually works for people, so who cares where it comes from if it actually works?
Yes, so, but it's natural, so it's drug-free, and it tackles inflammation, which is really huge in a lot of people's cases. Try it and see if it works for you. It works for like 70% of the people who buy this 3-week quick start pack go on to buy it again. It's working for the majority of the people who are taking it. So you can buy that 3-week quick start for $19.95. That's a steal, $20 to see if you can be out of pain. That's worth it. ReliefFactor.com or call the number on your screen for those podcast listeners, 800-500-8384 if you bother to use a telephone at this point in your life. Otherwise, ReliefFactor.com. All right, Jason, the doomsday scenario of the government shutdown.
Yeah, I've been seeing this a lot over the past, I guess, this entire week, really. And I guess the biggest, culprits are CNN, NBC. They've been writing a lot of them. A lot of those, like, personal stories, like, such and such is a TSA worker, now he's out of a job. There was multiple of these, and it really hit today. The one that I read today, I think it was NBC News, that said that they were talking about the doomsday scenario, like all these different things that could happen if we start, is this the first Friday where they don't get a paycheck?
This is the first
Yeah,
day.
first Friday.
Yes.
So if it keeps going, what's going to happen? And also all the different benefits that will start to drop off, all the different services that we're going to have to live without. And they called it literally, and this was a good line, a hellscape for the economy, which props to that. But this just kind of enraged me because I started looking back in history on other times, like other countries when they've been so dependent on, the government, when they controlled everything. A government shutdown would really hurt them because then literally all business kind of stops. What I looked back at was when Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister of England. She was like, screw that. This is the issue that we're in right now because the government's nationalized everything and they never gave the power back after World War II. So she started offering up to privatization. She was like, okay, the steel industry, why are we doing that? She offered that up, sold it off. They made a crap ton of revenue. Their shipping industry, that had been nationalized. She offered that up. The postal, like all of these different parts of the government that we actually kind of mimic and still have under control of the government. She was just offering it up. And then other countries all over the world started copying what Margaret Thatcher was doing. From 1979, I believe, all the way up until 2015 was the last statistic that I could find. Worldwide, these privatization, and these private ownership type initiatives had earned revenue for the government $3.3 trillion. That's worldwide. I was like, dang. So literally, if you are worried about these things, this is a perfect opportunity for the GOP to finally get some, to ball up and say, look, this is what we're about. We're about private ownership. We're about capitalism. This is what we're about. So we're going to start selling all these things off that we think can be more efficient in the hands of private business.
For instance,
Amtrak, the
perfect
Postal
example.
Service, TSA. Like there was one thing today.
The TSA is so effective, though.
Oh my gosh,
they're really good at their job.
The last report I saw, they have an 80% fail rate.
Yeah.
80%.
And that's actually low. Like I usually see higher.
Oh, in 2015 it was 95%.
Yeah.
And some cities, built into the TSA laws is a way to privatize your airport. And many airports have done it.
Yeah.
San Francisco, I believe, is one of them. They actually went to a private situation. It's obviously better and more efficient. It's. I think that's the scariest thing about the shutdown, because I think as conservatives, we're like, all right, look, shut the government down. The way they're doing this now, we're getting rid of non-essential employees, and we can do that, and that's fine. Over time, though, of course, these things start to build. There's stuff like flood insurance that needs to be renewed, and food stamps issues. And we were joking about how one of the issues is craft breweries cannot submit labels to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to get them approved. So there's no new varieties. I know. There's no new varieties of beer coming out from craft breweries. A significant human issue. But like all these things will start to peck away. And people will be like, well, that's why we need to get the government wide open. No, that's why these things should not be in the hands of the government.
And no one will plead that case. Yeah. No one. You'll only hear the left side of that. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a retort, but the Republicans and GOP now don't have the balls to do it. Yeah. It's insane.
Your government shutting down shouldn't hurt your society and your economy like it's going to if this keeps dragging on. I mean, it shouldn't, because that much power shouldn't be in their hands in the first place.
Yeah. Do you see this dragging out?
I hope it does. I really do.
Already, right?
Yeah, it is.
After tomorrow it is.
The only reason is because I don't want the president to cave, because I think that he is absolutely screwed if he does. I think he will lose a large portion of his base. I don't want to give anything to the Democrats on this because they're being completely ridiculous.
So is this just indeterminate amount of time now? It just goes on and on and on forever? No one gives?
If they don't, one of two things are going to happen. One side was going to give, or the president is just going to say, screw it, I don't care, and he's going to call a national emergency. That will be the worst part of this.
And that's what I
John
think.
Kerry just said, I think today, The Hill put it, said that if he can do this, then we should be able to call a national emergency for the climate agenda.
Right, of course.
That's what we've been saying. Yeah. And that wasn't just a what-if scenario. I think that was a friggin' threat. I think he was saying, go ahead and do it. Yep. You call your national emergency, we're going to call ours.
The Democrats love this idea, because then they'll have clearance to do it for whatever they want. I think the worst case scenario here, honestly, is what might be very likely, which is this is really just a political BS thing. So Trump goes into this. He doesn't want to give up any ground. So he calls his national emergency. He wants to go start building his wall. Obviously, that gets blocked in the courts. The courts wind up ruling on it. They turn it down. Trump is able to come back to his people and say, look, I tried as hard as I could. I called a national emergency, and it got rejected. So we don't get the wall, and the precedent is still set that you're allowed to do these national emergencies, because what they're going to do with a national emergency with Trump is say it doesn't rise to the level of a national emergency. Then later on, we'll deal with the courts saying, well, does the climate rise to this level? Well, of course it does. This is a national tragedy. Mm-hmm. So we're going to lose on both sides of this if this happens. And I really hope that is not the way he goes. I mean, again, he's in a tough spot. He's backed himself into a corner at some point. He keep talking about how, could he get a fence done? Could he get something done? It feels like $1.7 billion. He gets some of the wall done, and he could go back another day. I think I'm a little bit in a disagreement here with you, Jason, in that I don't think much of his base goes away if he can showed that he did something. If he can say, okay, I built an extra 10 miles of fence here and 20 miles of fence here in the most important areas, I think most of his fans are going to say, look, the Democrats screwed him, and he did as much as he could.
Hold on. I do want to, we will get back into this conversation. We got to take a break, though. We're not done.
We just put up a wall before your comment.
I know. Yeah. That's so
very racist.
That's the most immoral thing that's ever happened.
We're going to continue that conversation in overtime. I could not believe when I saw this. Today is our 200th episode.
Wow.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I can't believe you guys have survived with me. 200 whole episodes. That's amazing. I felt bad, Jason, because Jason's not in this picture.
He's not pictured.
No, but we fixed it.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Love it.
Just to, give you some credit there.
I've probably been on 192 of these episodes, so I mean.
I I didn't get you guys a cake, but there was a fruit cake out in the hallway left over from Christmas.
Oh,
so I
wow.
just thought you guys
so
might
yummy.
Really
doesn't
thoughtful.
Does it have riduzone sprinkled into it as well?
How did you know?
And
It was gonna be a surprise.
And Field of Greens, yeah.
You're an overtime.